So I'll admit, the newest part of Cobra Kai Season 6 was actually pretty good. Yeah, I bet a lot of you guys were expecting me to hate on this like I did for the last part, but I actually did enjoy a lot of this. Now, before I talk about everything I did like, I figured I'd just talk about everything I didn't like first and get it out of the way. It's not a lot, it's just a couple of small things. Anyway, my first complaint is just the lack of character depth for a lot of these people. Like, I understand these characters were introduced just this season, but I feel like they have no personality traits except for maybe one or two things. Like, take these three for example. I can describe each of their characters in one sentence without really missing anything. She's pretty unpopular, but she's also really mean. This guy's just an asshole and he doesn't try to hide it. And he's a big strong guy that gets abused and is really obsessed with Sam for some reason. If you think I left anything out in these character descriptions, then tell me what it was in the comments, but I'm pretty sure I got everything right. Like I said before though, all three of these guys were just introduced, so I can get why their characters are kind of one-dimensional. The only one of these that actually got some real screen time that wasn't completely drama-based was Axel, and he didn't really have anything important to say. It was just the writer's way of giving him a reason to be obsessed with Sam, which isn't really that good to be honest. Another problem I had was just how dumb Robbie was for like 90% of this part. Like, I get his girlfriend was on the other team and that made him worried, but this man seriously froze mid-fight every time just to look at her. And I know some smart guy in the comments is gonna go, well, you've never been in a situation like that before, so you have no right to criticize them. Before you embarrass yourself and actually put that in the comment section, you should know that I have been in situations where I've been fighting while stressing about something or someone else. At no point though, in any of those fights, have I ever dropped my hands, turned my body completely away from my opponent, and looked away from them. But that's just me, I guess. The last thing that bothered me is just kind of a nitpicky thing, but some of these shots of Barcelona were just really bad. Like in the first episodes too, it made me question if I was watching Cobra Kai or if I was watching some random reality TV show, because some of these shots were just so weird to me. Okay, now on to what I actually liked about this part. The acting for this was so much better than the last part. There were some parts that just felt really dumb, but for the most part I really liked it. Like the part where Johnny and Daniel were about to fight, or like every time Miguel said some slick shit in front of Robbie, that actually felt like something real people would say or do in real life, so I really liked that. The little drama thing between Miguel and Johnny was pretty good too. Every part of it actually felt pretty realistic, and it made me care about their characters and their problems. Okay, I know I just said I was done talking about stuff I didn't like, but seriously, how did they fly all the way to LA and back in the span of like one day without being completely drained? And if I remember it right, Miguel had to fight the same night he got back from LA, which is actually kind of crazy. Like, I don't know about any of you guys, but I would never be able to fly, goddamn, 27 hours and get straight into a match. Anyway, the fights this time were a lot better too. There were some times where it made like zero sense or they did something really dumb. Like, I think there was a fight with some Russian or Spanish girl that was fighting either Tori or Sam, and they said something cheesy like usual, and they threw a spinning kick like 15 feet away from Sam or Tori or whichever one they were. But other than that, a lot of the fights were actually pretty good. Like, especially when Kenny came in and he got that two-piece. Oh my god, that was... ooh, it was so good, bro. I also liked how towards the end, everyone kind of cleared up their dumbass beefs. Like, Dimitri finally apologized for being a little bitch to Hawk over MIT. Kenny and Anthony actually made up and they talked about it instead of just fighting every time. And Miguel and Robbie talked everything out instead of fighting each other. They didn't even fight each other a single time, which was really cool. The Rocky reference in episode 10 was kind of dumb, but I also liked it. It's kind of weird. But if you don't know what I'm talking about somehow, the little training montage where Robbie and Sam and everyone else are running through the city, all of that is a reference to the Rocky movies, and he would do the same exact thing during his montages. The fight between Quan and Robbie was really good too. I liked how Robbie was fighting kind of dirty and making the fight last way longer than it needed to be. And that last kick at the end, slow motion, oh my god, that was so clean. If you ask me though, I think that was a fine way of just ending that little saga with the Korean Cobra Kai stuff. I seriously think they only made the Russians get caught for cheating because they wrote themselves into a corner with that fight. Because that whole thing didn't make any sense to me. Like, seriously, why would they be testing for PEDs this far into the tournament? This was like day 2 or 3. And if the tests were taken before the tournament started, why didn't they wait until after they got the results before starting it up? Like, isn't that a safety hazard? I don't know, it's whatever though, I guess. I just think that was a little cheap thing for the writers to do. Honestly, I'm surprised with how much I like this part of season 6. Like, in case you couldn't tell, I actually enjoyed this way more than the last part. Before you ask, no, this does not mean I take back anything I said about part 1 in the last video. Actually, I think I'll talk about some of this right now, because I've talked about it a little bit in other videos, but I haven't had the chance to fully explain my views on some of these things. For the last time, I knew and I still know that the season isn't over. I know that it's a 3-part season that they're splitting up and releasing over a time period. I cannot tell you guys how many people were in the comments of the video getting mad at me because it was only the first part. Like, I'm pretty sure one of the first things I said in the video too is I'm gonna talk about part 1 of season 6 of Cobra Kai. So I don't know how or why people were getting mad at me for that small part. Actually, you know what, I'll admit I did keep saying this season instead of this part when talking about it, so that's probably what confused a lot of people. A lot of other people though were just complaining over super small things. They're trying to find some way to get mad at me or to invalidate anything I said because I just didn't like that part. Like, I know one guy got mad at me because I was off with the ages of some people, which, I mean, congratulations, I guess. I don't know the ages of actors, I'm sorry. And another person said that I can't have an opinion on the show because I don't have 1 million subscribers. Those types of comments didn't make me mad or anything. It was just kind of weird because they had nothing to do with any of the opinions that I have or anything to do with the show sometimes. There were some people though who actually pointed out flaws in my statements of why I didn't like that part. Like, they would point out parts of my argument that didn't make sense to them, or they would just say, hey, I disagree with you, here's why. And that's what I wanted in the first place, so that was pretty good. I like that. Anyway, I just figured I'd talk about that for a split second. I'm not talking about that video again. I mean, it's one of my most viewed videos, but I really don't care about that. Like I said earlier though, I know this isn't the end of the season. However, I'll still be using Cobra Kai season 6 in the title because that's a lot simpler than putting part 2 of season 6 of Cobra Kai in the title. I think it's a pretty reasonable thing to go, hey, that's too long of a title, I'm just gonna say season 6. So if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry, but I think it should be pretty clear when I say season 6. If you look at the date, I'm gonna be talking about either part 1, part 2, or just part 2. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more. If you agreed or disagreed with me, let me know in the comments. But please, for the love of God, do not say something stupid in the comments and embarrass yourself. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I'll see you guys next time.